Hi everybody, hope you're doing really well. So today I just wanted to put what I'm going to record as probably my final video on talking about mental health and anxiety, because I've posted two out in the past before. Don't worry, I'm going to put a link to both of those. The first one was living with anxiety, in which I was literally recording that video in the exact same spot that I am now, and where I talked about living with anxiety. At the time it was interesting because I've just re-watched it so I can put this out. I talked about the fact that I had this weird, I think I spoke about the fact that I had this gulping problem, which was like I kept, my anxiety was making me gulp a lot. Really weird to some. So I was sort of swallowing a lot more than I needed to. And also the fact that I talk about relationships in that one, which is interesting because obviously at the time, since then obviously I've been in a couple of relationships, and obviously now I'm at this stage now I'm obviously doing this video, so you know it sort of ties in with that. And the other video, which I posted out semi-recently, which probably most of you saw more than the first one, was how historical exploration saved my life, which genuinely did in a lot of ways. And really the crux of that was that whole video just basically gave you a... I just basically poured my heart out onto that one. Talked about from my very early stages, growing up in music, professional musician, and how that was my passion, but also... thank God for urbexing or history or passion for history, and it really helped me just get out of the house when I came back off tour, for example, or any type of thing like that. And it just gave me that secondary outlet which I really needed, because I'm, like I said, without putting people in brackets or anything, including myself. Sorry, that obviously, you know, I'm a very, most of you probably realise I'm a very creative person by nature. So I have this sort of unnatural spiritualism that ties in with that, or I believe about the openness and the receptiveness to a lot of different things, from emotions from other people to just the way the outdoors makes you feel, fresh air, etc, etc. And obviously in that one I really talked quite in depth about my personal life. Obviously I got really upset, and obviously it's the same thing today. So in this video what you're watching now, I've not scripted anything. I just kind of had this thing of like I really felt the need to. Now the reason why I felt the need to make this video was because recently I'm slowly recovering out of a really bad dip of mental health that I've had, and I'm just sort of coming out of it now. Still not fully recovered. I'm still there, but with every episode that I've had, it's always been a learning curve for me, just to sort of adapt myself. So just to start this video properly, I just want to say I'm not a doctor. I don't have any medical experience. It's just my experience. And if it relates to any of you out there, then that's great. And I just wanted to talk about a few things that probably I didn't mention in past two videos. Or if I had done, I might have just sort of skimmed them accidentally. So if you haven't watched the first two videos, please go and check them out. But if you haven't and you've decided to watch this one first, I just want to sort of give you a brief backstory. So I have what is referred to as generalised anxiety disorder, which is GAD. Now, although that doesn't, for some of you, might not sound as serious, I've had that type of form since I was around about 10, a little bit later on. And what happens is that when you're of that age, when you're about 10, I always refer to it as like, you know, you get this little seed in your head of like trauma or whatever it is at the time. We still don't know what it was. Severe stress forms, we refer to it as severe stress forms, where I'd just be completely stressed. I'd be very highly emotional, etc, etc. Toilet issue as per usual. Going to the toilet a lot, whatever, but you know what I'm trying to say. Again, just spurting this out, so forgive me. And then because my brain wasn't fully developed, it was developing as it was going, that seed sort of gets ingrained into your brain or your body, and it just sort of expands as you get older, and because you've never dealt with it, or you never process it, it just explodes. And then what happened was, when I was a teenager, it just completely erupted. I started getting panic attacks. I had an eating disorder, but not through choice, which I've mentioned before, like anorexia, quite bad. Used to stutter quite a lot when I was really, really bad. Really, really bad. I don't think many people ever got to see me stutter, which was great, but trust me, if you did, I'm really hand and heart sorry. Because it's not a nice thing to happen, and obviously I was shaking a lot. I was it was all bad, and obviously I was doing a lot of gigs back then, so it was just an amalgam of lots of things. So now at a certain age that I'm at, I still have anxiety and I still have depression. Another thing I need to put out there for people, but this is just me exclusively, so please don't think that that just because this works for me or just because this is my route doesn't mean that anybody else should. I don't obviously take medication through choice. That's my personal choice. I did when I was a teenager, and it turned me into a goldfish, what I like to refer to it as. And I came off it because I realised that actually there was parts of me that I really liked that the medication was taking away from. And it was just a little bit difficult. I mean, in my life back then, I was doing multiple things. So I was in a bands, I suppose, probably later on. I was doing modelling. I know it's hard to believe, everybody. I know that's hard to believe, but I was doing some modelling for quite a bit when I was younger. Casual modelling stuff, though, by the way. Yeah, casual, like, fashion stuff. Nothing seedy. Need to clarify that. I don't know why I had to do that. Modelling, and then I was obviously exploring as well. And so I got those three huge things that were going on. I was also teaching guitar a little bit later on as well at that point. So if I wasn't gigging, I was exploring abandoned buildings and stuff. And then obviously I was doing modelling on top of all of that as well. And sometimes it's quite funny because maybe sometimes all three might combine, where I'd be modelling in an abandoned building for a clothing company, or whilst being in a band. So there's a lot of things going on. And that was it, really. So, you know, it was a bad period in my time of being a teenager in that, because it's weird, because I should have enjoyed it more than I did, but unfortunately I was just ill all the time. So that was one section, and then, as I explained before, the other part of that, which people didn't really get to see, was that I was couldn't eat too much at all. I was really in a very bad way for a long period of my life. I'm probably talking about like 8 years maybe, where I was really, really, really bad. Like I said, complete skinny. In fact, if you watch the really, probably the first couple of few videos on my channel where I was doing some music stuff, you could see how skinny I was back then. That was about 10 years ago. So even then, I was quite skinny. And then, but it was even worse, even a long time before that. So maybe about 10 years before the channel had come out, I was even worse. And I just about that time when I was doing my channel, or the channel was doing the music stuff. Again, I've explained all this in the exploring one, so just watch that down below. There was a lot of things going on with that as well, where I just pretty much got to grips with my speech a lot of the time out of it. The thing with that speech thing was that a lot of people wouldn't realise that I had it, because I was very good at hiding it. But if I had a counselling session or a therapy session, it would come out really bad, and I'd be crying a lot. I'd be really upset. I was shaking a lot. I remember I had there's a couple of sessions basically where, you know, one instant I remember really well, which is actually one of the last one session I had, and this was actually about 7 years ago now. I remember the counsellor was on the second floor, and I parked up, and I remember walking around, going to reception, and this was in an NHS doctor's place, and I remember, and it was in this really old rickety building, typical. And I walk up it, and all the stairs felt uneven to me, but they weren't, and it was because I didn't have any, my brain had completely shut down. So by the time I'd got there, I was just in such a mess that I couldn't get up the stairs. And I remember this like it was yesterday. There was I think the receptionist or someone, I can't remember who it was exactly, had twigged, because and when they saw me, I was basically like not like a drunk person's an exaggeration. I was basically holding onto the side of the thing, just trying to literally pull myself up with my arms, and that wasn't nice. Hey, positivity, everyone. So yeah, but you know, even that was like 7 years ago now. So I mean, like I said, you know, a lot of that stuff's still fresh in my mind. And I've had loads of different therapy as well, which obviously I've talked about before. Everything else. Now, the other thing I just want to clarify here: I'm not a victim at all in all this. I've accepted that this is a part of me, and this is a part of me that will never go, and it's a part of me that I appreciate there'll be peaks and troughs as I go through my life with it. Some days I'll have good days and other days I won't. The only thing, as I pre-mentioned in Living with Anxiety video, was that it does affect relationships for me. Because it just does, because although I am who I am now, like talking to you, hey, like this sort of thing, sometimes when the camera's off, I do go quite insular into myself, and not, you know, and it's just, and I always have trouble with relationships because I was very guilty of pushing people away. That's why I never really had many relationships in my life. But I was very guilty of pushing people away, and the main reason for that was because I genuinely felt that they didn't understand me, and I was too embarrassed to show them when I was at my worst, and I openly admit that, and that's why, like, you know, like I said, I've never really been in many relationships, and I often wonder, you know, when I've spoken to other people about relationships, is it a good thing if both of you have anxiety that you're together because you understand it, or do you want to be with someone who doesn't have anxiety and that they're with you? Because either combination is probably it's got its good points and it's got its bad points. I often think that really, I don't think it's about that. I truly believe it's about the person that you're with. And what I mean by that is that if you really like that person, or that person really likes you, then no matter what you've got, whether it's a disability, whether it's anxiety, or whether it's depression, whatever it is, that you feel safe around that person and you enjoy their company and everything else, and vice versa. It's one of them things that I've only learned recently, even at my old age now. So, you know, I know that there's always room to manoeuvre and to learn. So really, the purpose of this video, I guess, is that I just want to clarify a few things with a lot of people out there with all this, is that there's a few pointers that I've learned through my life. So this is the core stuff I just wanted to sort of speak to you about now. So first thing I want to say to all of you out there is that if you do have it, whether it's anxiety or whether it's depression, and God forbid you have it as bad as what I have when you have both, first thing you need to know is that you are not alone. There's always people out there who are going to love you for who you are, and they're going to accept you for who you are, even if you shake or you lose weight or whatever. If you're a kind enough person within yourself and you have what you have, I always believe love will find a way, and that if they know you're a good person deep down inside, then they'll be with you no matter what. And that's friends and relationships and family and everybody else. And so then you're not ever going to be alone. And if somebody offers their hand out to help you, then just take it. Even if you feel like, you know, it might not benefit you or whatever, just if somebody offers their hand out and you know that person, more importantly, then take it. Because it's better to do that than go for it on your own. But just know that you are not alone with what you have, and that there's always going to be good and bad moments in your life, whether you have anxiety or depression anyway. And it is true, like the one advice that I always remind myself of is, it's always, I know it sounds a bit cliche, but it's true to me, because I think sometimes you need to have these phrases or these sort of mantras that you have to look hard at. And I'm a big believer in You know, there's that one in Rocky which I always refer to, which is, you know, when the coach is saying, it's not how hard you get hit, it's how hard you get hit and then can get yourself back up again. Something like that. But you know what I'm trying to say, and I believe that with anxiety, is that no matter how many times I get hit by it and it knocks me for six, and sometimes it really does, it's the fact that I've got up again. You know, I haven't let it beat me. And there's been times when I felt like it has. But then that's when you reach rock bottom. And when you reach rock bottom, you can say to yourself, right, I know how that feels now, and I've just got, and the only way is up, you know. So I believe that. It's not about how hard you can get hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and then get back up again. And it's such a cliche phrase, but it really works for me, because I know that I've got to learn from it, I've got to push through, and that's what we do in life, right? And the other thing, and it might have been saying, I can't remember if I've mentioned this to you specifically out there on YouTube before, which was the description that I always have about anxiety. It was a bit of advice that my doctor gave me when I was a teenager, and strangely enough, it was at probably the weakest, physically weakest point in my life where I just genuinely couldn't keep any food down, or liquid actually was getting quite interesting. So I had to have energy drinks like Lucozade just to get something in me. My doctor always said to me about panic attacks and anxiety, and she said to me, I know they're really traumatic for you, Dan, but it's your body's way of telling you that something's wrong, and you've got to get through it. Let it happen. Don't fight the panic attack, and don't fight all of that. It's your body's way of telling you something's wrong, and you've just got to let it out. Like let it out. It's like so this is the way that I describe it. This is the way I describe panic attacks and anxiety in that specific block, which is, imagine you're a ship out in the middle of the ocean, and in the distance you can see a storm. And that storm represents your anxiety and your depression. And you can see it coming towards you in your boat. Again, metaphor. If you decide to turn away from that, eventually that storm's still going to catch up with you. Anxiety is still going to catch up with you and completely overtake you. But the two things that you need to recognise about that is storms don't last forever, same as anxiety. And it's better to head straight into it and to come out the other end than to run away from it. Because if you run away from it, it's just going to make it worse. Those waves that were like originally like that are going to get bigger and bigger, and they're going to build up more energy if you run away from them. And I always describe that to people about that, and again, please just understand, this is just my own personal take on it. So what I deal with, which is like I said, what I'm going through right now, you just have to let it happen, but understand that when you do let it happen, that you can try and do something about it. The next time you do that, so this is the positive part about this message, is that the next time it happens, you're prepared enough that you know, right, okay, it's just going to happen. It's just going to go through. It's just a storm. It's just going to go through. And then I've survived it, and then I'll go through again. You know what I mean? And what happens then is that, especially for me in my life, is that you really learn to appreciate the beauty and the days when you don't have it. And when you don't have it, you can just try and live life. You can say, right, this morning I haven't shaken, I haven't rushed to the toilet, whatever, and then you embrace that moment. And sometimes it might only be hours it might last, but you embrace it. Because you know that just as much as you're going to have bad times with it, you're also going to have good times. So that's really what I wanted to say to all of you, that you know, you're not alone, and that I know that there's always going to be good times coming soon for everybody if you have it. But please watch the first two videos back on the channel. And this is me basically just signing off on my mental health, my anxiety, and just like to give in all of you out there who do have similar types of things. You're not alone. We're all okay, and we can all fight this together. And as I said before, if somebody offers out a helping hand to you, just as someone to talk to, or just as someone just to sort of get you out of the house, or whatever, whether that's friends, family, or just anybody that you know, whether it's your girlfriend, your boyfriend, just take it. Because, you know, the world can be a really lonely place if you let it. And it doesn't have to be that way. Alright? And if you're a nice person, and if you're a good person, if your intent in life is true, then yeah, it'll be alright in the end. So, thank you so much for watching. If you feel that this video's really helping and you want me to do another video on it, I will. I just kind of wanted to wrap this up because obviously this is sort of not a Phoenix history video, and yet this is the third one now. But it's just because it's something I'm really passionate about and relate to. And as I always said, you know, if I can help out other people who have got similar sort of stuff going on, then I will do. And because I know what it's like. You know, I've been at rock bottom many a time, not just once, and I'm still here. I don't know how. Joke in a dark, humorous way, but I just am, and I still love exploring, and I still love music, and they're the two things that I really like. And like I said, if you have a passion, you know, which is really what the historical exploration thing was trying to get at, if you do have a passion, embrace it, you know, enjoy it, you know, or find a passion, find a new passion. You know, I'm just greedy, I guess. I've got two passions, but I always said that was good for me because it meant that, you know, if my music didn't do much, I could always do my exploring, and vice versa. So yeah, but again, I've explained all that in the two videos. Please go down below and check the two videos out, which is Living with Anxiety. The links will be in the About section, and How Historical Exploration Saved My Life. Thank you so much for your kindness, your patience, and your love. More importantly, you are an amazing community on Phoenix History, and I am grateful to have all of you out there. And if it means that I can hopefully use this channel to encourage all of you, whether it's to go exploring or to hopefully help with any form of mental health or anxiety, then I'm always going to be there for all of you out there, even if these videos might be sporadic or whatever. But if you genuinely really like this type of anxiety video, I will put some more out on Phoenix History for the channel. And yeah, thank you so much, everybody. Love, 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 and take care. Because history matters, I should normally say at the end of this, but because mental health matters, and it's important. All right. Love to all of you out there. Take care, and see you all very soon. Bye. Boo!